Welcome to Greg's Reel Revival. Today we're going to be working on a reel that I've had for just a bit here that I've been wanting to make a video on. This is a Shimano Stradic 2000 FG, an older spinning reel, super smooth as you can tell. It does have the instant anti-reverse. This is kind of unique for spinning reels as it has the worm drive gear system in it. So we're going to take that apart and kind of show you how we do this. Alright, as we take things apart, we'll kind of lay them out in the order we took them apart so we'll know where they go. Alright. Alright, here's our spool cap. Alright, so let's stop right here. We're going to service the drag on this real quick. Your drag is located right down here. You'll see it's got this retaining clip. So we're just going to take flat bladed screwdriver. You can see right there is where it opens up. So we just put a finger in here to hold it, and then on the other side we'll slip that screwdriver in. You'll see it popped up there. So we'll just grab it, take it out. The next thing we have, this is a single drag washer system. So we'll just drop that out. This is the top cap. It is flat, so it doesn't have any specific side that needs to go up. And right down there you can see our drag washer. It's a felt drag washer. I just ordered some stuff from Smooth Drag and forgot about it, so hopefully I'll be able to add that to my order. But that just comes right out. There's the inside of it there. Alright, like I said, that's just felt. Main thing, we got to keep these moist, okay? They've got to have either oil or drag grease on them. So first thing I'm going to do, take a Q-tip, and I'm just going to clean all this out of here. Make sure all the old grease and oils out of there. We're good to go. Okay. So I will take, this is what they call Cal's Universal Drag Grease. Kind of a tan looking product in there. For this one, I'm just going to get a little bit on my finger, and I'm just going to rub it on this drag washer. Okay, kind of rub it in there. That'll help keep that moist so it doesn't tear up. Okay, once I'm done with that, just going to set that right back down in there. Excuse me. Then we're going to drop that down in there. Okay, right above where that sits, there's a little indentation all the way around there, and that's where this clip goes. Okay, so we're going to take this, put that first side in there. Again, hold it down. Make sure you got a finger in there. And you can just kind of secure it together and press all the way down in there. And you can feel it clip into that little groove. So your drag washer has been serviced and it's back in the top there. Okay. Easy enough. Alright, next thing. We'll start taking this apart. We'll take off the spacers here. Those just come straight off. There those are right there. You see you got your 2 or 3 spacers on top, and then you have your little click ratchet there. Set those down. Now we've got to get this cover off here. Just a small Phillips screwdriver. Other Phillips screwdriver. And that cap there just falls right off. Now we have our little nut there. Usually they are 12 millimeter. So let's see if that's accurate. If these are reverse thread nuts, they will normally say somewhere on here and show you which way they come off. So this doesn't say, so yes, it's just a normal thread. Just take that off there. Set that down. And then your, this just comes off. Alrighty, so we'll set this down. There's your anti-reverse, but before we do that, I may actually have to put this back on real quick. Yeah, put that on real quick, and I gotta take off that handle first. Not 100% sure if I have to, but we're gonna make sure. All right. Maybe I didn't have to do that, but it's all right. If they're not, some of these they just screw into the frame here, and they don't have this other piece over here. If they just screw into the frame and you try to take them off after this is off, sometimes after the rotor's off, sometimes you'll have issues. But this one is actually just a screw-in one that is a two-piece handle here. So that handle comes off, and we're just going to set that down right there. All right, now we'll take this back off here. That there, that there. Okay, so you'll see it's got just some kind of little dirt on there, little dirt there. So we'll just clean that up here in just a bit. All right, we'll set that down. Next thing, let's take off this anti-reverse. There's two, you'll notice there's one little bitty screw here that's really small, and another one that's really small right there. We do not need to take those two off. Okay, the ones we need to take off is, you can see the screw there, and you can see where there's a little support there. There's that bigger screw and a little support there, and that bigger screw and a little support there. Those are the ones we need to take off, okay? The same thing. It out. This is something you can do if you're looking for a really nice higher end reel and you don't want to go spend the money on it brand new. You know, what if I don't like it? Buy a model that's a few years old, and then just see what you think about it. All right, if you like it, great. If you don't, then you can probably resell it on eBay for what you bought it for. All right, we're gonna lift that off. There's a little collar in here. Really important. We make sure we get this back in the way it's goes in here now. So I'm just gonna press that collar out. Okay. Now on this one, there's kind of maybe you can see the top side is a little bit wider than the bottom side. So the top side goes up, okay? So in there, that's your anti-reverse. Do not oil or grease that. What I do to clean that is I'm gonna take a Q-tip here, and it's dry. I'm just gonna run it around the inside of here, and you'll see it took some of that dirt and grease off there. If that gets too greasy in there, you will not have an anti-reverse, okay? And you'll be like scratching your head, kind of wondering what's going on. So just take the Q-tip, clean that out real good. You're good to go. You can clean the outside of this as well. Okay, you're good to go. All right. Next thing we need to do, all right, we're gonna go ahead and take these side plate screws out first. First, we gotta take the screws out of this bump guard. If you're thinking about doing this and it's kind of freaks you out a little bit, it's kind of scary at first, look at videos on the internet. Just type in your real model. Just type in Shimano Stradic 2000 FG service, and this video will come up once we get it done. Or type in just whatever reel it is, and it'll kind of walk you through what you need to do. Also get online, reelschematics.com is a good place to go, and you can print off the reel schematic to see where everything goes. Sometimes that's kind of reassuring. You can always send your reel in to me at gregsreelrevival.com. Just shoot me an email and I can get that set up for you. Generally, most reels are going to be 20, 25 bucks. If you want like a deep cleaning where I completely take out, disassemble the anti-reverse, take off the main shaft of your baitcaster reel and make sure everything's good underneath there, that may be a little more, but generally, yeah, 15, 20, 25 bucks is what it's going to cost you. Now, that sounds like a lot. Probably going to spend an hour and a half with each reel. And if you're buying a $200 reel or $250 reel, having it serviced once every few years, it's probably well worth it versus having to go out and buy another one. Okay, next thing we're going to take off is this anti-reverse switch here. And you'll see, like when I take these things off, I just lay them right there with the pieces that they go with. Still got a little more to do here. Alright, so I'll just lay that there with the screw still in it. Next thing, I'm going to take off this. I'll tell you what, we're going to wait and see if we have to take that off first. We're going to take off these 3 screws right here. And I'm going to lay these out on my paper towels here in the order that I took them out. So I can tell when they go back in. I will say, of all the reels that I've worked on, these side plate screws are probably the most difficult to get out. Can't quite find a Phillips head that fits there the way I like. So I resorted to this flat head, and it just doesn't really seem to always grip how I like it, but that's all right. Just take your time. They'll come out. Don't force anything. We don't want to strip the heads of them or anything. There. We have one more here on the bottom. This has been a really good reel for me. I had rotator cuff surgery earlier in the year, and I wasn't going to be able to fish with my, set the hook with my left arm on my bait caster, so I decided I needed another spinning reel. So that's why I bought this one. I wanted a little bit older one. I've always wanted a Stradic, so I just bought a little bit older one, and here we are. Okay, let's see if this is going to come apart here, or if I'm going to have to take this off. All right, there we go. Okay, so this piece here will come off. I'll show you how that fits back later. Here's your main gear. Okay, see that got a couple of shims on it there. We've got our bearing right here. Okay. So I'll just take my bearing tool and push that bearing out, and I'm going to lay that right there so I'll know where it goes. Okay. You'll see in there, there's another bearing. So once we get down to it, I will get that pushed out as well. Okay, so you'll see this reel is a little different than your regular spinning reels. Normally your spinning reels will have your main gear here, and then they'll have another gear underneath them that is responsible for moving the shaft up and down. But this one doesn't have that, all right? That's how this one works here. Okay, so how do we get all that out? First thing we're gonna do, we're gonna take pictures if we're doing it at home, so we remember how to do it. Okay. So first thing, let's take this little screw out here. That's where your pawl is. Your pawl is the little metal piece that rides inside that worm gear to make it go up and down, okay? So we'll take that pawl off real quick. And Shimano's done a really good job. A lot of these pieces, they only fit on one way. So if you're kind of wondering, then you'll be all right, okay? Okay, so there's that. You can see there's a little baby bearing in there, and the pawl sits inside that. Okay. So we can just take this shaft here, I believe, no, not quite yet. Okay, first thing we have to do, this is a little support piece here. That's gonna come out the bottom here, okay? So we're just gonna take that screw out. Again, you'll see there's really only one way that can fit, okay? So kind of scary when you start taking it apart, but if you just take your time, you realize there's only one way that can come out. Okay, so there is where that comes out. Just take you a little pair of pliers and yeah, just push that, and that's going to slide right out there. There is an indented portion on the top, so that goes up. Okay. All right, next thing, for the worm gear, there's a little plastic bushing on the bottom of it. Let's take that off. Okay. And I think we should be able, I'm not having luck with this. Tell you what, got all that out. I'm going to go ahead and pop out. This is the, can't think of the name of it right now. That's our pinion gear right there. Okay, so we're just going to pop that out. That just pulls straight out. All right, when I get that up, okay, what? There we go. That's what it is. There's another support pin back on over there. Same thing. It's got a little pin that goes in it. So that's going to point up also. So remember that. Now I can rotate that. And when we get this out here, we will take that pawl out and we'll get all that cleaned up, okay? So this pinion gear and that bearing will slide straight off the top there, okay? You'll see there's a little shim right there, so that'll go down first. Now, and that will just slide out right there, okay? Now, I'm gonna see if I can clean this for you because it's kind of hard to see. But there's the pawl, sits kind of right there. It's kind of sitting at an angle. So I'm going to kind of press in on that. See that bearing starts to come out. All that should fall out the back there. Okay. If not, we'll just take a little screwdriver and we'll just very lightly push that. There you go. Okay, so that's all one piece. That doesn't come apart. Then I have my little pawl, and it sits inside that little bearing there, okay? All right, next thing. This is your anti-reverse. That does not come out. Okay, so here's what we got. We have our worm gear, and then we have this little wheel right here at the top that meshes with the pinion gear to turn this. Okay, how do we get that out? We took our bushing out, excuse me, and that worm gear should slide right out the bottom there. Let's take the bushing out the top also. There we go. All right, so your worm gear comes out. So it's just like that. And then this little wheel, I believe, should slide out. Yeah. There, you may not be able to see it. It's kind of hard to see. There's a little indented, rounded area back there that that wheel slides into, so you'll know where it goes. Okay. All right. So I think, with the exception of that bearing that we're going to push out right now, that bearing comes out right there. Just going to set that there, right by the side case, and we'll know where that goes. All right, so you'll see there's your reel. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get all this cleaned up. Okay, then we'll come back and put it together. All right. I will put these bearings in some Coleman fuel, acetone, something like that, and I will let that soak for 10 or 15, 20 minutes and kind of let it work out all the old oils and greases in there. And once we're done with that, I'll take them out, I'll let them dry, and we will oil them with a little bit of really light oil. This is Shimano Bantam oil that's come with some of my other reels. Really like it. I've actually got some, I believe it's called TSI 321 oil on the way that I've read is really, really good for bearings. So I should hopefully have that in next week. But there's our reel. I'll go get it all cleaned up, and then we will come back and we will show you all that we can actually get it back together. All right, thank y'all. See you in a bit. All right, we're back. Got everything cleaned up. Now we're gonna start putting stuff back together. All right, I think the first thing we're gonna put back together is this worm gear. It goes in that little slot right there. Okay. First thing we have to do, we have to set this little wheel in there. Okay. Like I said, there's a little indented space at the back there where this wheel rides. You can kind of look at that. All right, now we're going to slide this worm gear in. It's got to go up through that little wheel, which you can do if it, because like I said, the stuff isn't really difficult. It just kind of takes patience. So to get that in there, sometimes you have to kind of, there you go. I got the worm gear through the plastic part, but it's not up into this port yet. Okay, so I will hold my finger on it, and I'm just going to kind of push down on that, and I'm going to twist it a little bit and see if I can get it to, there you go. See, it disappeared. It's riding right up into here now where it needs to go. Okay, so we're good with that. Next thing I want to do, I want to put in this bushing. You can see it's got a little tab there on the side of it. Obviously that tab goes right there, and it will hold all this in there. Just gonna get a hold of it here. All right. Now that we've got that part in, let me think if we can put this on yet. Not quite yet. Let's leave that right there for right now. Now this is the shaft, okay? This is where the pawl, you can see the little teeth on it there. That's where the pawl goes in. That pawl rides in the teeth of that worm gear right there. Okay. I have taken that out. I put 1 drop of oil on it. Okay, it's going to go in the back here. It just sits right there. Okay. And if you remember, we have this little piece that secures it in there. And we can tell by looking at it that that's how it goes. Because there's a little tiny hole for that post. There's a bigger hole for the screw. And the bottom part goes around the backside of everything. All right, almost there. Again, parts are small. All right, right there. And dip a little bit of grease on the end of our screwdriver. That'll help us get this little tiny screw to stick. All right, so I got it started there. That little hole there fits over, there's a little post there. And that is the back of the pawl. And then that's where your screw goes. So it, like I said, just take your time, it all goes together. Takes a little patience. I'm just gonna set this down on the all right, so that goes in right there. Now that pawl there spins pretty freely. Okay, so once we get this in here, we'll make sure that it meshes with the worm gear. Okay. Next, what I'm going to do, because this shaft is going to go through the bottom, it's going to go up through the, that was good, right? It's going to go up through the pinion gear, so I want that pinion gear in here first. All right, that's why real repair can be so much fun. Like I said, it's just, can be frustrating at times, but it's not really that big of a deal. You know, as long as you don't let it really get to you, you'll be fine. Okay, so that, did that again. Put that right there. We can hold that. All right, now let's do the pinion gear. Okay, first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna put this brass washer down. Tell you what we'll do. Yeah. Put that little brass washer in there. Then we're going to put the pinion gear sets right there. There's a little bushing piece right there. This little bushing piece here, the flat side has gotten off kilter there, so I have to turn that just a little bit, make sure it's the right way. Leave that's right where it sits. There's a little hole right there, and that little slot has to line up with that hole. So again, not difficult, it's just a matter of taking the time to get it. Like it needs to be. Alright, there sits. You can see that little plastic piece is nice and flush with that, so that's how you'll know it's in there. Then we're going to put our little worm wheel back in, or our little wheel back in here. And we're going to gradually get everything put back together and see how we do this time. Maybe this will be our last time to do it. Again, alright, just spin it until it gets to the right place. We're good there. Where'd my pinion gear go? Here it is. Set that to the side. Put a little bit of grease on the pinion gear. Don't need tons and tons because those teeth are right in here and they just push all the extra out. So you just need a little bit in there just to kind of cover it. Okay. Remember, hold your finger on the bottom here. That pinion gear rides right there. That bushing is going to go on top of there. Like that. We'll kind of make sure that's centered in there the way it should. And then we'll put that bearing in right on top. And that'll kind of stabilize everything. Alright, so we're good to go there. We're going to brush a tiny bit of grease on that worm gear. Right here, give it about half a turn, and then we'll put a little bit on that side. Now, when this turns, it's all gonna grease everything. That little plastic gear is also meshing with that, so you'll see that it all works together just like that. All right. We have our pawl right there. So we're going to put this shaft up through the pinion gear. You have to take it out just a little bit, and that's fine. All right. Put our shaft up through here. And then we'll put this whole pinion yoke and everything. We'll slide it right down onto here. All right, so we're good there. Okay, now you'll see, again, didn't really pay enough attention. So now I have to turn this until that worm gear decides it's going to line back up again. We're fixing to put this cover on here, and once we do that, we'll be good to go. There we go. All right, so I've got that. We got this. The last couple of things we have, we're going to put these pins in here. Once we finally get these pins in here, everything should stabilize. There's one of them. The other one goes right back here. They just slide up through that little metal piece up into the frame. Okay? If it's easier for you, you can twist this so that's a little bit closer to the bottom, and then they're easier to line up. All right, we got those two in there. That's our biggest deal right now. Now we can put this on, and then it'll all be locked down, and we won't have to worry about chasing everything again. All right, got that done. Here's our screw. Again, we'll put just a little bit of grease on the back of here. That just helps it stick to the head of the screwdriver. And then we can concentrate, well, that's nice. Concentrate more about getting this back on here and getting it secured. So again, as you can see, that covers everything, that holds those pins and everything in. And then, all right, we're done. That's really, I think, the most difficult part of the whole reel right there. All right, so we got all that. You spin the pinion gear, and you see that it's all lined up the way it should be. All right, so we're good there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in the main gear. Again, a little bit of grease on that. Doesn't take a whole lot, because that main gear is going to intersect with that pinion gear, and it's going to squish all the extra grease out. So if you want just a whole bunch of extra grease in your reel, wandering around there collecting dirt and dust and everything else, then you can feel free to over grease it, but I try to keep it pretty light. Okay. It's actually going to sit right there. Let's see when that. There we go. That once that side cover gets back on there, it's going to turn just how it should. Okay. Better way maybe is. So yeah, we'll show you that here in just a second. All right. Now let's take this goes right over here. Well, let me show you how we know where we put that. You'll look in this side of the gear case. There's that little slot right there. That's where that little tab goes. So if you'll there it goes. It's going to go right there. So what we'll try to do, we'll get that lined up. And then we're just going to set those two together. and they go in there pretty easily. All right, and went to get back together really nicely. Okay, so let's start putting in side case or side plate screws. Now when I put these in, I'll just barely, I get it just where I feel just the widest bit of resistance, and then I'll go to the other couple, and then we'll tighten them down at the end so we have them all just about tight. We don't want one side riding up higher than the other side. Last one up here. All right, we are good to go. All right, let me go let the dogs out real quick and I'll be right back. All right, got them taken care of. Next thing we're going to do is put on our anti-reverse switch here. All right, let's get that in there. Put our bump cap on next. Alright, see that working good there. Make sure my friction rings in all the way around. Looks like it is. Perfect, I believe. Alright, next thing, let's put our bump guard on here. find that other screw here in just a second. But here is this one. And there's my other one. Put in. Alright, so there's our bump guard. Next thing we're going to put on is our anti-reverse. Now you'll see you have this little anti-reverse knob right there. That's going to fit right in here. So you'll know you have it on correctly. Alright, so again, 1 screw, 2 screws, and 3 screws right there. So let's get those. Now, if you remember, here's our collar that goes inside here. The wider side goes up top, so we're just gonna set that right there. And we'll know that works because if we turn it this way, it turns freely. If we try to turn it back, it locks it. Okay, so we're good there. All right, same thing on these screws. We'll get them started 90% of the way. Then we'll do our next one and our next one. And then we'll go back and tighten them up at the end here. Come on, there we go. Tighten that one up. That one up. You don't have to over torque these. It's a real good way to strip them. And if you got an older reel, you're going to have a good heck of a time trying to find parts. All right, we should have the hardest part of everything done. Here is our bail. It flips really easily. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this. What I will do is probably put a drop of oil there, drop of oil there, drop of oil there. We'll just kind of work that in a little bit. Now, if we needed to, I mean, if there was issues with it, we could disassemble it all and look into it, but there's not. Okay, what I also want to do, there is our, that lever comes out there, and that's what our bail trip hits on to trip the bail. So I do want to put just a drop or two of oil in there where that hits, because I want a nice easy bail trip. All right, so we're good there. Now we would just set this on top here. Easy spin. So we should be good to go. Next thing is our washer. Again, it's normal thread, so it just threads on to the right. Take our 12mm wrench, tighten it up a little bit. Again, just tighten it snug. It doesn't have to be super duper tight. Now let's see if we can get this to line up here. Tighten it a little bit more to get those holes to line up. All right. I'm close. I mean, we're really close there. I'm actually going to back that off just a tiny bit. All right, let's see where that lines up perfectly there. So get our two little bitty screws here. Again, tiny bit of grease on them, just so the screwdriver will stick. Start there. This other one started here. Alright, so we're good to go there. So it's really, really, really smooth. This is a really, really nice reel. Alright, next thing we put on is our little clicker. And then here's our spacers, 3 of those. These you can adjust. Well, if I can dump everything off here. If the reel is spooling too much to the top of your spool, let me think, you can remove them. If it's too much to the bottom of the spool, you can add extra ones. So. There's one. All right, so we're good with that one. Now, that's our little clicker mechanism. There's a little bit of dirt in there. Let's get all that cleaned up. And I'll put a little bit of drop of oil there and probably a drop of oil over here. All that is your line holder here, so I won't mess with that, but I'll put a drop of oil there, drop of oil there. Sure we keep everything well lubed. Just work that in there a little bit. All right, we're good to go. Set this on top of here. All right, now let's put our handle on. Goes through here. Just screw it on until we tighten it up. Alright, so you'll see, really nice spin there. Bail trip's nice and easy. Got a good anti-reverse there. Disengage the anti-reverse, perfect there. So there we go. There is your service on your Shimano Stradic 2000 FG. Thank y'all for sticking around. Please like and subscribe to the channel. This was one of my oldies but goodies, but I've also got an old greenie Curado CU200 service that I'm going to be doing tomorrow. So tune into that, and we will talk to y'all then. Bye-bye.